In this lesson, we will learn how to manage data drift. This video walks you through exactly what you need to do so you can deal with data drift and even harness its power that will help your pipeline to adapt to changes quickly. Firstly, what is data drift? The animation shows what happens during data drift. Data is flowing in the pipeline. When data drift happens, for example, field names change, number of fields change, order of fields change, or a field type changes, the data becomes unpredictable. Data drift interrupts processes and alters data, but can also show new opportunities for data use. So, what can we do to identify? You probably remember from the previous lesson on setting up alerts, and that we can create our own rules. We can manage the data drift. You can establish your own rules to indicate when the structure of data changes on any stage in the pipeline. We can also create alerts for such rules. And we can make use of the expression language that provides the functions for creating data drift rules. This table describes the type of data drift rules that you can generate on the different field types and their related drift function from the previous screen. For example, you have an alert that is triggered when the number of fields in the record changes. Let's create a pipeline that will read in some initial data and will trigger a data drift alert when more data is added to the pipeline. Read some data from a directory. Read it from /resources/dd. Look for star.json files. The data format we'll look for is JSON. Add a couple of zeros to the maximum object length. Let's run a preview to get the schema. We now have the address hierarchy, and you can see there are 4 fields in there. Close the preview, and let's add a field pivoter stage. The field to pivot is /results. The pivoted items path is the root directory, which is /. Finally, add the trash stage. Now let's set up the first of our data drift rules. Go to Rules, go to Data Drift Rules, and then set up a data drift rule. Now the stage that we are interested in is the field pivoter stage, not the directory stage. The address hierarchy doesn't exist under the root directory until we get to the field pivoter stage, that is, /address. We will need this in our condition field in a moment, so we want field pivoter in there. The label that we want is drift size. The condition that we want is, as displayed. The false flag is the ignore when missing flag. Use this flag to determine the behavior when the field is missing. When it's set to true, a missing field causes no errors. When set to false, a missing field generates an alert for the record missing the field and for the next record that includes the field. Sampling percentage is 100. Click the Enable Meter checkbox. The alert text is Alert Info. We'll save that, and then we'll enable it. Click on the checkbox and the double tick to enable it. You can see it turns green to show it's enabled. We need some files for our pipeline in order to test our data drift rules. This first file exists in /resources/dd on the data collector. This will initially be read by the pipeline. Each record has 4 fields within the address hierarchy. To test for a change in the number of fields alert, we'll use this second file. This file will be copied into /resources/dd. Whilst the pipeline is running, each record has a variable number of fields in the address hierarchy, up to 4, including 0 fields. This third file will be copied into /resources/dd later in the video. In this case, each record has 4 fields in the address hierarchy, but the zip field has been changed to postcode. So we'll use this file to test a field name change. We'll set up another data drift alert also later in this video. Let's go through the order of execution. When the pipeline runs, it processes the only file that exists in the /resources/dd folder. Remember, only one data drift alert exists at the moment for changes to the number of fields. When we copy peoplemissing.json into /resources/dd, the pipeline will automatically read this new file and will find that the number of fields has actually changed. Therefore, the data drift alert should trigger. We now have the data drift alert set up and ready to accept data. So let's run the pipeline using reset origin and start. This should read 20 records from the people.json file, which you can see here. Now let's go to our lab environment and we'll enter the container. If we cd to /resources/dd, do an ls, you'll see in there we've got the people.json file. The extra entry there is a folder. Let's just have a look and see what's in the extra folder. You can see we've got those 2 other files in there. So we're going to copy the people missing file from the extra folder. In other words, the file with missing entries from the address hierarchy. We're going to copy it to the current directory, which is /resources/dd. As soon as we do that, we do an ls there, and we have 2 files in there. Go back to the pipeline, and we can see that we should get an alert triggered, which you can see there. 30 records are now being output. You can see it says /address has changed from 4 to null. So the first record in our new file had 0 entries in the address hierarchy. Then from null to 2. So the next change encountered only had 2 entries, and so on. Each time the number of fields change in the /address hierarchy, it shows an alert. Let's stop this pipeline at this point. Acknowledge the alert by clicking on the red bell. View all, and then click on the checkbox and acknowledge. We're all caught up now. Go back to the pipeline. Go to Rules, and we'll disable that data drift rule. This time we'll create a new data drift rule to pick up a change in field name. We need to remove the peoplemissing.json file from /resources/dd. If we restart the pipeline, then as before, the people.json file will be read into the pipeline. This will produce our initial 20 records again, as before. With the pipeline running, this time we're going to copy the peoplechange.json file into the /resources/dd folder. Once we send this new file into the pipeline, our new data drift alert will trigger. This is because the new file has field name changes. The new rule will detect this and a new alert will trigger. The pipeline is currently stopped. Let's define our new data drift rule. Go in Data Drift Rules. There's our previous one, which is currently disabled. Create a new one. It will trigger on the field pivoter stage again, and the label will be drift names. The condition is going to be as displayed. 100% sampling. Enable meter. Alert text is alert info. This time, this will pick up any name changes in any fields within the address hierarchy. Save that. Enable it. Select the Drift Names Alert checkbox and enable. Back in the lab environment and enter the Docker container. cd to /resources/dd. We can see in there that we've got those 2 files. So we want to remove the people_missing.json file. This just leaves behind the people.json file. Go back to our pipeline and let's run the pipeline. This should give us 20 records, as you can see there. Go back to the lab environment to see what's in the extra folder again. We've got the peoplechange.json file there. Let's copy from extra/peoplechange.json to the current directory. Back in our pipeline. And we can see the alert triggered. Now it's your turn to set up some data drift alerts in the next labs. Thanks for watching.